Yeah, Jackson, Kyle, I think I can turn it over to you guys. Obviously, Greencard, Jackson and Kyle, subject matter experts. Feel free, as always, type questions in the chat or interrupt. We'll kind of just keep it open for them. But yeah, Jackson, I can turn it over to you.
Yeah. Um, Morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to kind of hop on with us here for an hour to walk through green card, cannabis payments, kind of existing landscape when it comes to compliance and some of the other solutions in the space like debit-based, card present, and then obviously green card bank to bank. How I'd like to start this call is obviously introduce our team over here at Greencard. The people on the call today are myself and Kyle Walker. We
How's it going,
are
everyone?
we lead the partnerships team as well as the sales and outbound and onboarding. So whenever you guys have a question regarding cannabis payments, your clients, just traditional onboarding issues, we are going to be your point people to help you get that going. That being said, and I always kind of preface this with the green card product, this is a new product in the space. We understand that a lot of you guys are coming from the low risk processing side of things. So cannabis kind of represents a new vertical for you guys to attack. That's why Kyle and I are here, as well as our other product specialists, is, if you guys need help with introductions, if you guys need help with demos, sales, as well as client calls. We will be your point people to help you get that.
Well, now I can't hear anything on this. What the fuck is wrong with this shit?
I'll talk to him after.
Hey, Patrick, we'll try to get this figured out for you.
Hey, Patrick, can you hear us? Yeah, he typed in the chat. Are you muted too? I've been muting him. So yeah, Patrick, call me if you can't hear anything. Go ahead, Jackson.
All good. Yeah, so just quick mic check here. Hopefully everyone can hear me. But we're also joined on the call with Luke Blackmore. I don't know if he'll turn his camera on, but he is the founder and creator of Greencard. We'll be leading this call, but again, when it comes to integrations, when it comes to POS partners, if you guys have people in the space that need special e-commerce APIs, integrations, different things like that, we are more than happy to get that going for you. Kind of one thing about Greencard before we kick things off is Greencard is an in-house product here at Vivid as well as Greencard Payments. We've built this fully ourselves. This product is owned by us. So we operate the gateway, we operate the payment flows and payment rails. So when it comes to customization, when it comes to tailored onboarding for your merchants, we're able to kind of customize and flex our solution a little bit to have it best match your clients. Cool, guys. So what I usually like to do before I kind of hop into what the current cannabis landscape is right now is ask any questions people have regarding general cannabis industry, what they've experienced, as well as any issues that have come up as they've looked to place cannabis accounts. So I'll leave the floor open for the next 15 seconds or so for anyone to ask any questions. Obviously, we can extend that, and then I'll kind of go from there.
Nothing in the chat right now. Yeah,
No,
feel free to ask away, everyone.
cool, guys. Chris, you got something?
No, no, I'm just taking notes.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Just so you guys know, this call is recorded and the notes will be prepared after the call as well. So we'll be able to go ahead and send those over to you. But what I like to do is I like to start out with kind of taking things back almost a dozen years to 2014 when cannabis was first legalized in the state of Colorado. This gives us kind of a good overall picture of what's happened, what's happening, and what's going to happen in the space. So starting in 2014, cannabis was obviously legalized in the state of Colorado. Cannabis is a state issue, right? So the federal government said, you know what, we're not going to prosecute different states for legalizing cannabis. Therefore, on a state by state basis, you guys are allowed to have cannabis recreational programs. Essentially, what started happening there is states started adopting cannabis programs, right? So it started with Colorado, went to California, some of the other Western states, and then it went over to New York and the East Coast. When cannabis was first legalized in 2014, and I'll supply this documentation for you guys to have it handy, as well as for you guys to review it. The US Treasury pretty much sent out a set of rules and regulations called FinCEN 2014. This was sponsored by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And essentially what this stated was, if you are a financial institution, if you're a merchant processor, if you want to offer financial services to a dispensary, you need to follow a set of rules and regulations that, one, keeps you compliant, but also keeps the state compliant with their cannabis rules and regulations. Boiling that down to just a few sentences here, the main issue with that document is that there needs to be certain compliance checks. So you have to follow certain banking secrecy acts. You have to be conducting specific suspicious activity reports consistently for your clients. But really the main crux of the 2014 documentation was that any type of transaction, any type of sale, any type of money movement relating to the cannabis industry for that state has to remain intrastate. So just like how you see now, cultivators in the state of California can only sell to dispensaries in the state of California. The same thing is true for transactions. If a transaction is initiated at a dispensary in the state of California, it needs to be fulfilled and it needs to be deposited at a bank within that same legalized state. What really happened because of these rules and regulations in the beginning was that cannabis was a cash-only business. So what we saw in 2014 is that most of these dispensaries, in order to help their customers fulfill transactions, would have an ATM inside their dispensary, 1 to 2 to 3 different ATMs, physical ATMs. And then obviously, as the merchant service industry does, we found some workarounds and we began to create new solutions for the space. So what happened in around 2016 to 2018, kind of fast forwarding a few years after the cash only kind of model, was PIN debit. So you guys are probably pretty familiar with PIN debit processing. You put in your debit card, you put in your PIN, and then it charges you that exact transaction to your bank account. The main issue with this solution when it was first placed is that because cannabis isn't a federally legal industry, there was no legal MCC code to place for these dispensaries. So what ended up happening was a lot of these merchant service providers, a lot of these FIs were placing these terminals with an MCC code coded to a convenience store, a liquor store, a flower shop, a small retail environment. And over time, what started to happen was, one, Visa, MasterCard began to see discrepancies in the transaction sizes. So they began to see that, these transactions operate more like or look more like a dispensary rather than a convenience store, just because they have higher ticket volume. And then what started happening is they started to send in secret shoppers into these dispensaries to see that this terminal coded as a convenience store PIN debit terminal is actually live and living within a dispensary. Over time, Visa, MasterCard got a lot better at recognizing these discrepancies. And what they started doing is if they found one bad actor on the network, meaning they only found one terminal that was working at a dispensary across the entire network of PIN debit terminals, they would just go ahead and shut down that entire network. So pretty much it kind of developed a game of whack-a-mole in the PIN debit space. Now PIN debit is no longer a viable option within the cannabis space. And it is baseline non-compliant. So anything that's debit or credit related in cannabis still operates through our federal credit and debit rails. These are FDIC insured rails, and in order for something to be FDIC insured, right, you need to follow the rules and regulations of the federal government. So because cannabis is still a Schedule I substance, obviously Trump put some paperwork in place to try to reschedule it to Schedule III. No matter what, it is still an illegal substance to the federal government. And because of this, right, Visa, MasterCard, these credit and debit systems cannot process cannabis because in order for them to remain insured by the Treasury, they need to bank compliantly with compliant businesses. So these are the same reasons you guys may have seen on the high risk side issues with intoxicating hemp recently, peptides, nutraceuticals. These industries kind of operate in a gray area. So, right, the federal government doesn't really allow processing there, and Visa and MasterCard are trying to remain compliant. So kind of touching it and getting a little bit more deeper here as well. Because the FinCEN 2014 guidelines stated that the transaction, the sale, the commerce for cannabis has to remain intrastate. What happens on these debit and credit networks is as soon as that transaction is initiated, right, it's sent through the federal channels. So it crosses state lines. It goes to, maybe the Visa network or the MasterCard network based in Rhode Island or Delaware, wherever it may be, and then it gets shot back to California. Because that transaction crosses state lines, again, it's non-compliant according to the 2014 FinCEN guidelines. Getting back into our timeline here, fast forwarding a few years until 2020, there was an influx of this new solution called Cashless ATM, which I'm sure you guys are also familiar with. This is a debit-based processing solution for the cannabis industry. However, what happens is they code the terminal as an ATM. So to Visa, to MasterCard, it doesn't look like a debit-based terminal. All it looks like is an ATM, a physical ATM placement in their dispensary. What happens with this kind of transaction type is, as the customer, I'm going to put in my debit card. Let's say I have a $37 transaction. It's going to round up to the nearest $10 or $5 whole. So in this case, $40. As the bud tender, I'm going to go to my cash register and then hand the customer back $3 change to fulfill that transaction. What we call this kind of process is layering. So it's not, clearly misclassifying an MCC code. What it's doing is creating a little bit of, convolution or gray area on the back end, so that anytime when Visa, MasterCard take a look at these transactions, all it shows is an ATM withdrawal. What's happened with this solution over time is, again, Visa, MasterCard in the age of AI have gotten really good at finding anomalies in these systems. Not many regular merchants out there use a cashless ATM to process transactions. So when they start seeing hundreds of thousands of tickets being transacted with a cashless ATM, they're able to pretty much flag these transactions and shut down these terminals. What we've seen in 2026 is pretty much rolling shutdowns across multiple providers. So Paybotic was shut down last week. Paymio was shut down earlier last month. In total, we've seen around 10,000 terminals get shut down just in 2026. What's happening now is Visa, MasterCard are tying each terminal to the last four digits of the bank account. So as before, when you would get a terminal shut down, you would just go to a new provider and get a new cashless ATM. Now, if you sign up for a cashless ATM with your new provider using that same bank account, Visa, MasterCard, whoever the underwriting party is immediately going to shut you down. So what's happened is now they've added another layer of complications to it. If you want to get a new cashless ATM placed, which again is a non-compliant solution, you needed to get a new bank account. And getting a bank account, a compliant bank account in cannabis, is notoriously hard. So doing that just to get a cashless ATM has, kind of turned a lot of merchants away from that debit-based processing. The same thing is true with cashless ATM, with PIN debit. These are still operating on federal credit and debit networks. So again, they're baseline non-compliant. The transaction does leave state lines. It goes to the federal system. So again, these are non-compliant solutions for your dispensary. That being said, cashless ATMs are one of the most prevalent card-based solutions in the cannabis space, and really the only one right now that has short-term longevity. So we see cashless ATM placements lasting anywhere from 2 months to a year to 18 months. Depending on how your underwriter sets it up, there are different things that we can do on our end to make sure these are compliant. At Greencard, we do offer a cashless ATM option, and I always extend this to our merchant base. It is something that these merchants want because it's easy, because it's quick, because it's something that their customers have understood for a few years now. That being said, I always preface it with the fact that this solution could go down at any point. This is a non-compliant solution. You guys, as a dispensary, this might run for a month, this might run for 2 months, but the likelihood of this getting shut down is very high. So kind of looking at the timeline from 2014 to current, there's been 2 solutions that have really dominated the debit space. That has been PIN debit, which has had its heyday, and now it's cashless ATM. With cashless ATMs, again, there seems to be these rolling shutdowns with Paybotic and a lot of these other providers. What happens when one of these solutions gets shut down, especially on the cashless ATM, is the terminal gets bricked. So anything pre-batch is going to get pretty much locked up. So if you have 10K, 20K, $30,000 on these terminals pre-batch, you're not going to receive those funds as the dispensary. We've had clients in the past that go through ongoing litigation with their merchant service provider, only being able to claw back a proportion of those funds that were stored on those terminals. So really, running a cashless solution, running a debit-based solution in your store is a hassle for the merchant, and it's also costly too. As soon as these terminals go down, they have to go buy new Nexco N82s, which average around $400 per terminal. It's really just a financial sink when it comes to having your customers being able to process. So what's happened kind of late 2025, early 2026 is the influx of cash-only dispensaries. People don't want to deal with PIN debit. They don't want to deal with cashless ATM. They don't want to get in hot water with the regulators. So a lot of dispensaries are going back to what was happening in 2014 and just offering cash only. Again, this is not the most efficient. Cash has its shortcomings. Obviously, cash is king in general. But when it comes to cannabis, you need secure transport. So you have to pay for someone to come in, pick up your cash. You need to have cash drawers. You need to have safe, cash safes on premise. And then, with any cash-based solution, there's always the issues of both internal and external theft. So giving you guys a little bit of background on the industry as a whole, I can kind of segue this into Greencard and why we created Greencard, and essentially what Greencard does for the cannabis industry. So starting in 2021, Luke developed this solution after going to MJ BizCon and pretty much seeing all the different merchant service providers out there that were actively getting shut down. What we ended up doing is going back to 2014, taking a look at those sets of rules and regulations from the US Treasury and developing a product that, one, stays compliant within that set of rules and regulations, but also offers a faster, more efficient, and frictionless checkout than what people are used to on the debit or cash side. So kind of starting from the top down, Greencard is a bank-to-bank ACH solution. So this operates through the Nacha system. All of our transactions remain intrastate. So we don't send any of our transactions through, for example, if it's initiated in the state of California, it goes through our California bank and then gets deposited at a cannabis-friendly bank account in the state of California. Everything remains within the legalized state. We don't have those transactions cross state lines. That is one of the core reasons as to why we are compliant, as well as continued transparency and visibility on the transaction. Whereas with PIN debit, they misclassify the MCC code, and with cashless ATMs, they put down a cash withdrawal. With Greencard, because we operate with cannabis-friendly ODFIs, we're able to actually show the true nature of that transaction. So when you, as a customer, make a transaction at your dispensary, we show you the exact amount. We don't round to the nearest $5 or $10 whole. And then we also show you where you exactly paid, right? So we'll have the dispensary's name, their DBA, their phone number. Again, this greatly reduces chargeback rates. What we've seen with cannabis clients is that they'll go spend $200 at a dispensary. They'll go look at their bank statement at the end of the month, and it's going to show up as, Brennan's ATM services. They're going to be, like, what the hell? I didn't spend $200 at an ATM. What's going on here? And then file the chargeback. So with Greencard, we keep everything above board. We keep everything transparent, and we make sure that the customer knows exactly how much and where they spent their money. Before I hop into the demo, obviously I want to explain more about the Greencard platform. At its base, again, it is an ACH-based system with next day funding. ACH is beginning to get more popular year over year with mobile wallets like Venmo, Cash App, Zelle. And what we've seen is that kind of evolution in consumer tendencies and consumer needs to pay via ACH has kind of trickled into the cannabis space. So essentially what we've done at Greencard is, to put it in the simplest terms, is created a Venmo for the cannabis industry, where the customers have an app on their phone, or they can use our web-based checkout. They'll scan QR codes in store. Transaction ticket, transaction amount will load up directly on their phone, and then they can go ahead and pay directly from their bank account. Greencard saves bank information, So our really only point of friction is the initial customer sign up. Takes around 45 seconds. We use an integration called MX, which is very similar to Plaid to link your bank accounts. Once you've linked your bank account once, you'll never have to do that again. And from there on out, it's around 3 to 5 seconds per transaction within the dispensary. Obviously, we support in-store transactions with that QR code scan. We also support the entire dispensary vertical. So if you have an operator that's vertically integrated, we support B2B invoicing for cultivators, for testing facilities, for extractors and distributors, as well as pay links for delivery services. You can have customers call in, send out those pay links directly to their phone number. They can pay those ahead of time. We also have an e-commerce checkout. So if they have a website, they want people to prepay before they dispatch an order through delivery or package the order in store. We have e-commerce APIs that hook up to Shopify, Wix, Foursquare, WooCommerce, as well as custom PHP sites. And then we offer full reporting on the back end as well. So we have internal reports here at Greencard within our merchant dashboard, but we also have a QuickBooks data feed. So what we found is most of these businesses using Greencard are also using QuickBooks for their accounting. What our system allows is every single piece of transactional data gets fed directly to their QuickBooks account so they can keep everything consolidated in one ledger, and there's no need to transfer this data back and forth between their Greencard account and their existing QuickBooks account. That being said, we also have kind of ancillary solutions on the back end too. Anytime someone pays with Greencard, we do have a mini CRM, so you'll be able to track first name, last name, phone number, and email. With that information, we do have an internal marketing engine. So we use SendGrid Twilio, and people can send out, scheduled emails, promotional emails, sale emails to their customers using Greencard. And that's been really a great value add for a lot of merchants using our solution. Just so you guys know from the top down, Greencard is a non-exclusive solution. So we find a lot of the time that, dispensaries, because cannabis is really a hamstrung business when it comes to payments, we really tell them to, put as many solutions as possible in their store. Have a Greencard next to a cashless ATM, next to your, ATM, and have as many solutions as possible. We're never going to tell a merchant they only have to use Greencard. That is up to them. A lot of our merchants only use Greencard, especially on the e-commerce side. But again, we're never going to tell them one way or the other. Todd, great question. Is there any chance this solution could get shut down before reclassification? No, we've built Greencard compliantly, so there is no issue for shutdowns here. Again, our ODFI is a cannabis-friendly financial institution, so they know the true nature of each one of our transactions that get funneled through their backend on a daily basis. So we've had no issues with shutdowns over the past year and a half of processing. We've also seen no red flags that would lead to a shutdown. Before I hop into the demo, Todd, you raise a good point with reclassification. Obviously, earlier last year, we saw that Trump signed an executive order to try to reclassify cannabis from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 substance. Now, even if cannabis is a Schedule 3 substance, it is going to be extremely hard to find compliant traditional merchant processing for them, because even under the Schedule 3, it is still classified as an illegal substance to the federal government. With that too, we're lucky enough to go out to a compliance conference in 2025 out in Washington, D.C. to talk to a lot of regulators, to talk to a bunch of lawyers, as well as CPAs to better understand the landscape of the industry currently and where it's going to be going in the next 5 years. And what the consensus is that generally, there's really no push to legalize cannabis except for on the president's side when it comes to optics. Each state right now that has a cannabis program, California and Colorado specifically, are generating around $300 million a year in excise tax. This is going to infrastructure, this is going to schooling. And essentially what's going to happen when the federal government comes in is one, they're either going to have to share those tax percentages, or the Fed is going to institute their own tax rate. So what's now 25% could get bumped up to 40, could get bumped up to 45. And what a lot of the consumer tendencies are saying is that when taxes go to essentially 50%, a lot of people are just going to start doing the gray market method and going back to their dealers instead of going to a dispensary. That being said, too, a lot of these states don't want to share tax revenue. They're making a significant portion from the cannabis industry, and they don't want to split that with the federal government. From a more organizational standpoint, there are 37 legalized and medical states currently. Each one of them have their own sets of rules and regulations and licensure procedures to have a legal cannabis business in that state. With that, it's going to be extremely hard for the DEA to consolidate these 37 programs into one. We see this as an incredible lift on the federal government side, and the Fed is having enough problems as it is with some of the issues that are going on. So we don't see this as a priority right now for the federal government. What we're seeing is that legalization could happen anywhere between the next 7 to 10 years. So it's a much longer timeline than people are expecting based on the news, based on what's happening in the Oval Office. But that's really what we're seeing is that 7 to 10 years for full legalization. And really nothing's going to be happening anytime soon. Looking at the questions here, I see one is card processing waiting for some version of the Safe Banking Act being passed. Yes, the Safe Banking Act has been in Congress for, I want to say, around 4 years now, and it's been gone through its revisions, gone through its voting process, and has yet to be passed. The main thing that the Safe Banking Act will allow is for traditional FIs to offer banking services, lending services, cash management services to dispensaries. Right now, a lot of these dispensaries have to go through credit unions, smaller community banks, ones that have a little bit more loose rules and regulations to get lending accounts, to get depository accounts. What the Safe Banking Act will allow is for this to pretty much happen on a national scale. So traditional FIs like Bank of America or even smaller ones like Pueblo Bank and Trust can offer merchant services to cannabis businesses. One thing I will touch on too is what we're seeing is if card processing becomes legal in cannabis, it's probably going to happen very similar to what's happening with peptides. We won't see the same rates that you see on low risk processing at around 2 to 3%. Instead, we're going to see our rates anywhere from 7 to 10%. So it's going to be extremely expensive for the end merchant. That being said, people just want credit cards, right? So it's a hard thing when people want credit cards, and it really requires a lot of education. So when I hop on calls with merchants, I kind of do what I did here and kind of give them an abridged version of the current landscape, where things are going, why card-based processing is not allowed in the cannabis space, and really what their solutions are to combat that. I will say too, just so you guys have a little bit more education here, one of the main reasons why the rescheduling from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 will be huge for cannabis businesses is because it repeals the 280E IRS tax law. And this tax law pretty much prevents them from making traditional exemptions. So, cost of goods sold, payroll, different things like that. They're not allowed to deduct that from their expenses or their taxes right now. So a lot of these dispensaries are effectively paying like a 60, 70% tax rate on their businesses. If things get rescheduled to a Schedule 3, there's going to be a lot more cash on hand for these dispensaries to invest in their storefront, hire more employees, as well as just have more cash in their pocket. Margins will increase and the entire industry will benefit as a whole. It doesn't necessarily mean that card-based processing will be legal. Sam, you asked, will this solution work for peptides businesses? Blanket, no. We did allow peptides in the past, but our bank is essentially scared of big pharma. So Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, they've started to release cease and desists, litigation against businesses that are selling GLP-1s, that are selling peptides. We don't want to go against big pharma. We don't want to get into a legal battle with them. So we have decided as of January 1st, 2026 going forward, we do not process for peptide accounts. So just want to let you guys know that. Cool. Again, I'll open the floor for questions right now before we go ahead and hop into the demo. Just put them in the chat. Let me know, and we can touch on those before I go ahead and share my screen with you guys to walk through the solution in its entirety. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and get this running, and I'll walk you guys through what we're looking at. So just confirming here, Brennan, you can see my screen?
Yes, sir. All good.
Sweet. Cool. So what you guys are looking at here is on the left-hand side, this is the merchant dashboard with Greencard. On the right-hand side, this is the user-facing application. So this is on the iOS and Android store. We'll go ahead and run through this first. This does look a lot like a Venmo for cannabis. So in the top, you're going to have all of your connected bank accounts. As you scroll down, you're going to have some of the top merchants you've paid at in the past using Greencard. If we go one tab over on the bottom, there's that search dispensary function. Greencard is a national program. So any dispensary using Greencard, regardless of their point of sale, regardless of their current merchant solutions, is going to populate within this general marketplace. So again, this is a global program, and use global loosely. It's a national solution. And based on territory, zip code, location, state, you can look for dispensaries in your area that offer green card payments. Two tabs over is going to be your running ledger with green card. So you'll have all unpaid and paid transactions living right within here. Give this a second to load up and it will show you. I'll give this a second to load. Again, we are on a sandbox right now, guys. This is not the production app, so things will be happening a little bit slower. The last tab is going to be all of your connected bank accounts. So you'll see checking, mortgage, investment, loan, credit card, and savings. Credit card, we always get questions about this. We can process credit cards. That being said, we don't because it's not legalized yet. So essentially, we've future-proofed ourselves here so that when the federal government says, go hog wild, process however you like with cannabis businesses, we can turn those credit card rails on immediately, and you guys can bring your own gateway to the program. Again, to add a bank account, we use an integration called MX. So if this will load up here, if not, I'll go ahead and send you guys a video. You go sign in, you look for your bank account. We bank with 20,000 different approved banks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase. You click on that, shoots you over to your mobile banking app, says, would you like to connect with Greencard? Once you confirm, it shoots you back over, and we've saved your banking information. That sign up again takes around 45 seconds. We save your bank information after the first time, and you never have to do that again. Moving back over to the left-hand side, this is the merchant dashboard. So when a customer signs up with Greencard, they get full access to their dashboard as a whole. You guys, as part of the Greencard program, will receive your own agent dashboard. This is going to allow you to monitor all of your merchants, view all of their transactions, as well as view your earnings, and application pretty much statuses. So within the Greencard agent dashboard, you'll have full e-applications, you'll have full customer management, so you'll be able to see at what stage of the application process are each one of your merchants in. And then you'll also have, as we like to call, God mode. So you'll be able to log into each one of your merchants. You'll be able to monitor their transactions, their users, as well as their service fee. So with Greencard, the only cost here is a per transaction fee. Usually this averages at around $3.50. Right now, that's the industry average for both ATMs and cashless ATMs. So we try to match that on our end. Obviously, we have some merchants that are at $3, $2.75, $4. So things fluctuate on a merchant to merchant basis. But with Greencard, you always have that option to pass that fee through. So our whole goal with this is that this is a zero cost option for them, and they can essentially pass that per transaction fee through to the end customer every single time. But I'll get into that in a second. Let's go ahead and walk through the dashboard here. When a merchant first gets access to the Greencard portal, they're going to have a dashboard view. Now, this view is really good for owners, for operators, for partners, really for high-level members of your dispensary. So you're going to have revenue recognition here in the top, total transactions, total amount transacted, as well as tips generated this month. If you have a website, we do post the API keys directly within here. So if you need to generate a new API key, connect that to your website, connect that to your web-based checkout, you can generate those right here and then go ahead and plug those in. One thing I will say with Greencard is that when we work with a dispensary that needs development or e-commerce API integration, it's really a joint process between their tech specialist or their developer and our team. We do have a team of in-house developers based out in Southern California with myself and Luke. So we keep everything US-based here. We do have developers for Shopify, for some custom PHP builds, as well as any API questions that need fixing. We'll be able to answer those immediately on a US-based kind of support channel. Obviously, our WooCommerce integration is our most direct. We do have a WooCommerce plugin right now on the WooCommerce store. These are WordPress sites. This installation takes around 30 seconds to a minute. It's super quick and very seamless. As you scroll down, you'll have a snapshot of your recent transactions. Again, this is really for owners, operators, partners to take a view at. You can click into any one of these transactions to get more data. So we can see, okay, this is the customer that paid. It's Jackson. Here's my phone number. Here's my customer ID. And then you're also going to get payment details on the back end. So at Greencard, we are a data-heavy company. So we track IP addresses, transaction date and time, settlement date and time, as well as who processed the payment. And then if your dispensary has a refund policy, you can initiate a refund directly within that dashboard. So if something's broken, if the seal's broken, if the cartridge is tampered with, we can initiate those refunds directly in store depending on the refund policy for that dispensary. Now, getting to the dashboard view, as I say, this is really for owners, operators, and high-level people at your company that are allowed to see revenue data. We do also offer employee accounts. So every single one of your bud tenders, every single one of your employees, every single one of your security guards is going to have their own login for the Greencard dashboard. This will allow them to have specific permissions based on their seniority, their position on the team. So if you want to give them permissions just to see certain things like pay links, RingUp, or QuickBooks, you can go ahead and match that on the permissions page. And this will update on the left-hand side. They will only be able to see those modules. Kind of touching on some minor things on the back end too. Again, within settings, this is all pretty boilerplate. Change password, change phone, login history, OTP preferences, as well as company info. This is interesting here. This is where all of the logo imaging goes, the business description, as well as the ACH descriptor. So I mentioned before that we keep everything above board here at Greencard. So anytime a merchant or a customer makes a transaction at a dispensary, they're going to be able to go to their bank account and see exactly where they paid. It is a 10-character alphanumeric code. So whatever you guys want to put in there, phone numbers, location, DBA, anything that relates back to the dispensary needs to be included. And this is part of our whole compliance metric with the FinCEN 2014 guidelines to keep everything transparent and legal. So now that we've gone through kind of the back end of Greencard, let's go ahead and hop into the bread and butter. So Greencard started as a pay in-store solution. So we started with our QR code-based transactions. And I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page really quickly. And now I'm going to go ahead and log into that merchant account one more time. Just for you guys' own edification, this is what your ISO dashboard will look like. So you'll be able to see your total agents underneath you, your merchants, your total earnings, and your payouts. Again, this is a full sandbox right now. So all these transactions are paper, they're fake. They're not $3 million through one account right now. So just want to make that clear. Again, you guys will have access to all of your merchants. All of these are sandboxes right now for merchants testing transactions, except for my live demo account that I use for our calls. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here again. You'll see here, you guys will have a tab that says login as the merchant, which essentially gives you guys that admin or God mode. So we'll go ahead and log in here. And again, we'll be brought right back to that merchant dashboard. So getting back over here, again, Greencard started with our in-store QR code-based checkout. What happens here in a traditional dispensary flow is a customer will grab a few items, let's just say a pre-roll and a pack of gummies. They'll then go ahead and bring that to the point of sale. That bud tender will scan both of those items and check them out. And Greencard operates in a few different scenarios. So we are integrated with a few popular point of sale systems in the space. We are integrated with All Leaves. We're integrated with Proteus 420, MJ Freeway, Marijuana Software, BioTrack, and then we're actively integrating right now with Kova, Blaze, as well as FlowHub. So as we continue to build and grow out our partnership program, we continue to add more integrated partners to our flow. What this will allow you guys to do as agents, as resellers, is pretty much, come across a dispensary that's already using Kova or FlowHub or Proteus and essentially install Greencard into their system because it's already there. Within those integrated partners, that QR code is going to pull directly to the customer-facing display, and they won't need a third-party terminal or a third-party screen to run the transaction. That being said, a lot of our clients are on Dutchie or Trees, which are notoriously closed-loop platforms. So a lot of them do use us in a third-party scenario. Because Greencard is a web-based service, what that usually looks like is an iPad on a swivel stand. So it can be an Android tablet, something very cheap. It can be an iPad mini if they want something a little bit more, luxurious. But we can really operate on any web-enabled device. So existing laptop, computer, an existing tab on their current POS, Greencard can really run on anything that's connected to the internet. We don't need any networking. We don't need any hard wiring. It only requires a Wi-Fi connection. A lot of our merchants use a cheap Lenovo tablet, costs around $70 on Amazon, and they go ahead and get a swivel stand with it. We usually lean on the merchant when it comes to hardware. Most of the time, they have an iPad laying around from their kids, their grandkids, and we just go ahead and use that. Again, that being said, hardware is very cheap. It's around $70, and there's not going to be any shutdowns with it. So they can go ahead and use that tablet for the term of their Greencard use. On that too, Greencard has no contracts, so it is a month-to-month program. We're not going to lock them in. We're not going to make them exclusive to us. They can like us for the first month. If they decide this solution is not for them, we pull it, we shake our hands, and we go separate ways. So we're never going to lock a customer into a contract or a long-term exclusivity agreement. So getting back over here, we're going to operate this in an unintegrated fashion. That bud tender has rung up the pre-rolls and the gummies. Let's say it's a $55 order. We'll go ahead and click 55 here on the iPad in this case, and we'll click go. This will generate a dynamic QR code specific to that transaction. Once it's scanned, it can't be scanned again. This is only for that singular ticket for that customer. So moving over into my iPhone, what I'm going to go ahead and do is scan that nice little green circle QR code button at the bottom. That's going to bring up the camera. I'm going to scan that QR code directly on screen, and that ticket will load up automatically. We'll see that my bank account is already connected. We can add a tip, and then we have that service fee on the bottom. So this passes that fee along to the customer, so the merchant doesn't have to pay anything for the Greencard solution. Once we confirm payment, we do a real-time balance check to make sure those funds are present in their account. And as you guys can see, 3 to 5 seconds to complete that transaction. I'm going to receive success on my end as the customer. The bud tender is going to receive success with a little bit more metrics here saying total amount, service fee, as well as tip. As the bud tender, I can go ahead and close this out and run the next transaction. For the sake of speed, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like in a kind of a live scenario. We'll click 55 again, scan this QR code, add a tip, transfer $70. Takes around, everything included, 5 to 10 seconds. This is much quicker than putting in your debit card, typing in your PIN, putting in the tip, waiting for the bud tender to give you cash back. What we've seen is on average, those transactions take anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, depending on essentially how quick their system is. With Greencard, however, you don't need to have the app. We do offer web-based checkout as well. And the way this operates is if they don't want to download an app, if they don't want to create an app on their phone, we can go ahead and run that same transaction just in a web-based scenario. So instead of using their application, they'll just go ahead into their iPhone camera. We'll go ahead and go here. We'll click Pay Greencard, and this will take us directly to our web-based payment portal. So I'll go ahead and fill in my information using Face ID. It's going to send me a one-time password to my phone. And then I'll select my bank account, select the tip, and transfer $67.25 to Dispensary, doing that real-time balance check to make sure they have funds in their account. Again, we receive success on the bud tender's end, and then the customer can go ahead and click out of there. So that is how Greencard started. That was our in-store checkout. Since then, we've kind of ballooned the solution to offer a few more solutions for different verticals. So one thing we offer is SMS pay links. So what you can do here is you'll put in the phone number for a downstream merchant. We'll go ahead and click the merchant or the customer's name. We'll do a description for gummies. We'll do an amount for $120. And then I will click create. From here, give me 1 second. I'm going to go to, oh shit, did I lose? Sorry guys, 1 second, I just switched screens. Let me bring this back up. We'll go to our text message here and we'll see that we have a text from Greencard. We'll go ahead and click this and that will bring us to our same web-based checkout. We'll log in with our Face ID, enter our phone number, and we'll run through that same flow. So if you're a delivery service and you're sending SMS pay links out to customers, they can go ahead and pay these from the comfort of their own couch. One thing I will say is a lot of businesses are kind of moving towards prepayment for their delivery and pickup orders. New York State as a whole has banned cash on delivery just because it imposes threats to the delivery drivers. They're carrying around thousands of dollars worth of products as well as thousands of dollars worth of cash. it is unsafe for them to do this, and they've become targets for theft, for robbery, for extortion, different things like that. So we'll go ahead and refresh this page here. We'll see that gummies for $120 is open. Once I refresh this, we will be all paid up for that transaction. Moving back over into our QuickBooks integration, again, all of these transactions are getting automatically fed to your QuickBooks. All you have to do right here is connect to your QuickBooks account. It'll ask you to log in with your QuickBooks, and that is all we need. That data will start getting fed immediately. On the back end, what we're doing is we're saving customer information. So anytime someone signs up, again, you're going to get their first name, last name, email, phone number, as well as where they signed up from. If they left their wallet, their cash, their dog at the store, you can go ahead and send them a one-off email saying, hey, come pick up your pet. They're behind the counter or your wallet. And then we also have an outreach engine. So email outreach, grouped outreach based on specific consumers you want to reach out to, and scheduled outreach. So 420 is coming up. If you want your marketing person to create a 420 email right now and schedule it for 2 weeks, you can go ahead and do that in our system. This is no extra cost to the merchant. This is all included with the Greencard dashboard. For every transaction that
Hey
goes.
Jackson, could you dive into the merchant application if you have time?
Yeah, of course. So I will go ahead and kind of finish this up real quickly here. We also have B2B invoicing. So this is going to behave a lot like SMS pay links. I know we're running on time here, guys. We only have 10 minutes, so I'll keep this as quick as possible. What we'll
And
do.
Brian, I missed your question as well. Is that for QuickBooks Online as well?
Yes. So great question, Brian. This is only for QuickBooks Online. This is not for QuickBooks Desktop. QuickBooks Online has an API integration. QuickBooks Desktop does not. What we'll do here is we'll enter the name of the downstream payee for this invoice. We can go ahead and do a quick merchant invoice name, and then we can continue with a description invoice if it's a singular line item, or if you're uploading, 30 different line items in a ledger, you can go ahead and upload a PDF, JPEG, PNG image to pretty much create transparency as to what this person's paying for. So we're going to continue with the description. We'll call it test Gorilla Glue 4, which is a strain. Let's do 4 pounds at $900 a pound. And then here we have the option to make this recurring, right? So if this is a consistent order people are placing every month, we can make this recurring on a weekly, quarterly, or monthly basis, select the start date as well as the contract term. How many times are we running that transaction? In this case, this will be a one-off. We'll continue to click create. And then this will have an open status within our inbox. I'm going to go ahead and go here and sign into my Gmail. And we'll see that we have an open invoice from Greencard. So we'll have a new invoice for $3,600 with a $4 service fee. And then right down here, I can pay or reject the invoice. Once I click pay, I'll be brought directly to the Greencard portal. Again, I'll go ahead and get that one-time password. Just send me a text. We'll go ahead and grab that, 435340. I'll click my bank account and we'll go ahead and make that transaction. Once we receive confirmation, we can go ahead and click out of here, get back over to the Greencard dashboard, refresh the page, and we'll see what was open is now all paid up. Okay, so we've run through the tech, we've run through the platform. Let's go ahead and go through the applications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up our box folder here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just in case I don't share anything related to the business, and then I will go ahead and walk through our onboarding. Again, you guys will have full access to the box folder if you guys sign up with Greencard. This includes one-pagers, marketing materials, sales documentation. We have strategies, sales strategies that we've worked on through our experience in direct sales. So if you guys need pretty much a foundation as to what the Greencard program is and how to position it in your industry, we have all of that data for you. I'm going to go ahead and reshare my screen here and walk you guys through what the application looks like. So this is a full e-application. So again, I've pretty much boiled this down into, let me go ahead and increase the size of my screen, into a PDF that I'll share with all of you guys. But within your portal, you'll have the option to, let me just increase the size here. You'll have the option to create a merchant. So you'll go to the top right-hand corner, create the merchant, and then what you'll need is, essentially, you'll need a legal business name, EIN number, DBA documentation if they're fictitiously filing, business website, business address, cannabis sector, as well as business description. This will all be on the first page. After that, we're going to need information for the primary contact. So this will be the authorized representative. If there are more than one representatives that have over 10% ownership, you will input their information as well. This includes phone number, social security, date of birth. It is only the last four of their social, as well as their ownership percentage. On to the next page. It's account setup. So we'll pretty much verify if they're a B2B or B2C account. Again, we can both do retail cannabis as well as B2B cannabis through our invoicing system. And then from there, you'll decide the money movement. So your payouts, your charge limits, your high ticket amounts, as well as your payroll and estimated monthly payroll costs. Our bank requires this, so you will see this in the application. From there, we'll just need bank information. So, name, account holder, routing number, account type, and then our document upload. So in terms of documents, we need 6 documents. This is pretty standard for merchant processing. We'll need a voided check, KYC for all owners over 10%, operating agreement, EIN documentation, Secretary of State good standing, and their current cannabis license. Once you guys submit this, it will prompt the owner to sign. Again, this is a fully online application, so you guys can either fill it out yourselves as the agents, send the last page to them and they can sign, or you can send the application link directly to the merchant and they can fill it out themselves. Either works, just depends on your guys' flow. We do have paper applications as well, so if you guys have merchants that would prefer to fill this out on paper, I can send you guys a form fillable PDF that includes all of this information that they can go ahead and fill out themselves. Our team will go ahead and submit that into your guys' agent portal ourselves. There's no need for you guys to do that on your end. Once we receive all this information, it then goes into our internal underwriting team. So our underwriters will take a look at the application. We'll make sure that everything's current, every ID is current, that their cannabis license is current, that they have a signed cap table. And then from there, we'll submit it to the bank. Usually takes around 5 business days turnaround to get things moving. After we receive that, we can begin onboarding. Onboarding is done in-house. We just request that you guys join on these calls. We'll do most of the onboarding training with your merchants as well as their managers. This takes around, I'd say, 1 to 2 hours of total time. By the end of it, we like to run a few test transactions to make sure everything works on their end and they feel comfortable with the flow. So what I usually like to say is between application upload to getting everything online and processing, anywhere from 7 to 10 days. Obviously, that really depends on the merchant, their speed, how they want to operate, if they need custom integrations or anything like that. But on average, we can get everything done with around 10 business days. That is our application process. Again, I will share all this information with you guys. Once you sign up as Greencard partners, you'll have full access to our entire database of sales material, marketing material. We do co-branded marketing for you guys as well. I know keeping your ISO name and your agency name is a big priority here, as well as branding. So we'll make sure everything's co-branded. And then we're pretty flexible how we want to work with you guys. If you have a large network of downstream sub-agents or partners, we're more than happy to host co-branded webinars. We're actually doing a few next week with some of our existing partners. So all that we ask is you guys market it to your network and we'll hop on and be the product specialists and walk through the solution with them. In terms of training, again, we'll do that all in-house. So if you guys want sandbox accounts, if you guys want sandbox mobile accounts to run test transactions yourselves, we can go ahead and set you up with that. This is great for in-person sales. You can bring an iPad, you can bring your phone and show them how easy it is to scan immediately. So more than happy to set you guys up with that on your end. And then last but not least, I'll kind of touch on integrations. We are always looking for new integration partners, whether it be on the point of sale side, whether it be on the banking side, whether it be on the distribution side. So if you guys ever come across people in your network that are point of sale services or software companies in the cannabis space, please bring those to the table. You guys will own those relationships. So any deals coming from those partners will live underneath your ISO. And then we'll be able to get you obviously preferred pricing on all of those accounts that come in as well. So you guys will own those integrations. You guys will own the deals tied to those integrations. And then we will do most of the build out on our end to make sure the integration works, is live, and is running. All right, guys, we have 3 minutes. I don't have a hard stop at 11. So if you guys have more questions, if we want to open the floor up to just kind of whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm here.
can stay on for a few minutes more. And I just sent another note in the chat as well. But for those of you on the call that are not part of our agent program, hit me up. I'll shoot you guys an email sometime this afternoon as well. But I would love to talk more, see what you're looking for, and get you involved in this program ASAP. So hit me up.
Yep. Todd, I'll touch on your question here. Did I mention ISV splits? Everything with Greencard is 100% residual to you guys. So once we have our onboarding call, we'll go ahead and pass over our Schedule A. Traditionally, it's anywhere, it's usually around $2. Again, based on your experience, based on your deal flow of the industry. If you bring clients to the table, we're more than happy to negotiate with you there. But we don't do any splits. Everything is 100% residual to you. One thing I will mention is Greencard is a flat rate model. So we offer you a flat rate buy rate, and then you have the option to mark that up to your end customer. And then on top of that, we do also offer basis points pricing. So if you guys come across a B2B account that it just came off QuickBooks or got deplatformed from QuickBooks at 100 basis points, we can offer them similar basis points model. Obviously, we go a little bit lower, around 90 bips, and then we give you guys your buy rate on the basis point side as well. This is obviously more lucrative in the B2B space, offering a 90 bip offering 90 bip transaction cost on a $200,000 transaction is significant compared to a flat rate model. That being said, we do also offer fee caps. So, if it's 90 basis points up to $100, up to $150, we can institute that for specific clients. Our pricing is pretty flexible. On the B2B side, you can price them at a basis points or a flat rate. I have cultivators up in Oregon that I'm charging $10 flat per ACH, no matter what. If it's a $100 transaction, if it's a $100,000 transaction, I charge them $10 flat. And that really resonated with them because it was simple, because it was clear. And at the end of the month, they can just, divide their costs by 100 to see how many or by 10 to see how many total transactions they run. ISV split. So we would pay the ISV. Todd, could you, or maybe Brennan or Vinny, kind of walk me through exactly what you're asking there?
Well, Jackson, right now, with Bankcard, we have ISV partners. They have the software, and we bring them the merchant, and they make it happen. And
Yep.
we pay them. The agent doesn't, but the company pays them 10% of the revenue each month in a residual payment.
Yeah, so we don't have any ISV shares with them, so you guys would own the account. I mean, obviously, there's one of our partners that has their own preferred pricing. So if you do go through them, they have their own buy rate. I think it's with Proteus. It's 100 bips plus 80 cents. So it's around on a $100 ticket. It's around $1.80. That is the only business that we work with that requires you to work on their pricing. Other than that, you guys can bring your own payments to the table, payments being Greencard. And then there's no ISV fees, right? They can use the Proteus, Olives, Cova point of sale, and you do not have to pay them a fee for using that. But all these programs do have reseller programs as well. So if you guys are interested in getting hooked up with Proteus, with Olives, more than welcome to introduce you to them. They have their own reseller programs. They have their own referral programs. Charles on this call actually works with Proteus, and he can probably attest to the fact that they do hook you up. So in terms of software costs, in terms of monthly SaaS fees, they will give you a percentage of that for placing that solution in combination with Greencard. Any more questions, guys? Again, this recording will be recorded. My brain is a little foggy this morning. And then we'll go ahead and send over some notes as well, so you guys have everything that was discussed on this call. And then depending on your guys's appetite for the solution, I'll go ahead and include my booking link as well, just to kind of touch on, again, what we talked about on this call, as well as walk you guys through our agent program. So more than welcome to hop on a call this week or next with any one of you. Again, we're pretty flexible in how we kind of run through the program. So if you guys need, special onboarding, special tools to get things off the ground, we're more than happy to get those ready for you.
Absolutely. Anyone else before we take off? Thank you, Jackson and Kyle. Great presentation as always. But yeah, everybody else on the call, hit any one of us up if you have questions. Like Jackson said, we'll set up demos, run you through whatever you need.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for your time this morning and this afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you guys on calls very soon. Have a good rest of your Wednesday.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.